Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are watching The Experiment. I'm your host, Joe Soro. We started about 26 minutes earlier than my original start time. I was making sure that the game didn't get past or didn't finish later. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of a buffer. But we have an audience here that wants to maybe go to bed early. So we'll go ahead and start it early here. For those of you who haven't clicked on the notification, I highly recommend you do that now. And we're going to get into a few things here. I had highlighted that we're going to be talking about the newly eligible Hall of Fame, possible Hall of Fame inductee in Pete Rose. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Dodgers medical staff issues. At least that's what I'm calling it. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about tonight's game against the sackless, sackful Sacramento A's. Is that probably the right term? Dodgers let one go last night. I wasn't too happy with the way they lost. I understand they lose, but I'm not really liking the 11-1 or the 16-0 games. So I'd like the Dodgers to stop doing that. If they're going to lose, at least kind of play a little bit. But tonight they won 9-3. And it was a little bit of a close game. The Dodgers came out with a couple of solo home runs, one by Ohtani to lead the game off, and then Pages in the next inning with a solo shot as well. And then the A's came back with a couple runs on a 2-run bomb, and then got another run that made it 3-2. After that, it was a pitchers duel until the Dodgers decided, you know what, I think it's time that we tie this game and then eventually win the game. And for the third time in 4 tries, Mookie Betts hits a shot that makes the other team regret walking Ohtani. I don't know if baseball managers do their homework, but they're not really paying attention to what happens when you walk Ohtani. You have to deal with Mookie Betts, or you have to deal with Freddie Freeman, or you have to deal with Teoscar Hernandez. Stop walking Ohtani, and you'll probably avoid having this happen to you, because you're going to piss off future Hall of Famers in Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman. Teo's probably not going to be there, but the point is, this team has that kind of ego. They have that kind of slight to them if you want to go ahead and play that game. But I'm not necessarily complaining. I'm talking kind of towards just being as an observer instead of a Dodger fan. Of course, by all means, keep making that mistake as a Dodger fan, because it's only going to mean good things for the Dodgers. So Dodgers tie up the series right now. They get the rubber match tomorrow to see if they can win the season, or win the series. I have full confidence that they will, and we'll see if it's going to be another blowout, or at least what it ended up being, a blowout. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what's happened here in the last couple days in baseball. Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson and the myriad of other guys on that Black Sox team in 1919 were now made eligible to be voted to go into the Hall of Fame. Now, I don't know much about what really went on back in 1919. I've heard of Shoeless Joe Jackson numerous times. If you've watched Field of Dreams, obviously, that's probably where the general public remembers him from. I don't know who the other 7 were, or 8. Haven't really done a lot of research on that, but I kind of started today. But I wanted to get the first Pete Rose, because that's been part of the American sports lexicon in a lot of ways, in terms of what should be. And Pete Rose, for those of you who've been living under a rock the last 35 years, or maybe weren't even around, Pete Rose was popped for betting on baseball as a manager of the Reds. Now, I don't know if it was going on before that, but I'm going to take a wild guess that he was probably betting on the games while he was playing. Now, they did find out that I think they found out that he was betting for them win. There was never proof that he bet on them to lose. Nonetheless, he still bet on games while he was playing in the league. Was banned in 1990 from it. He denied it all the way up until about 2004. Finally admitted that he did gamble and passed away last September, I believe. And now, since he doesn't cause a threat, which is these are paraphrasing from Commissioner Rob Manfred. Since he's not here with us anymore, he is now no longer a threat to maybe embarrass those who are in the Hall of Fame and the whole kind of personality of that whole thing. I think former baseball players, are a little bit more snobby than that's the people in the NFL or the NBA. But the NBA actually doesn't have a NBA Hall of Fame. That's a basketball Hall of Fame. But they're not as. It doesn't seem like they're as stingy as the guys that are either in the Hall of Fame as baseball players or the writers that vote for these guys to get in. And I have a story about that because I think the writers get a lot of the blame on why Pete Rose wasn't eligible before he passed away. And we'll probably get into a little bit of the steroid area guys on why some of those guys haven't been in. I'll get into that. And I found that I happened to see a video of Tim Kurchin, who's a big baseball guy that everybody knows, been around for years, decades. And he had a story about I think it was about 10 years ago. It's on YouTube too, by the way, if you wanted to check it out. I actually just saw it a couple days ago. But Tim Kurchin had said there was a get together when he was part of this 12 panel voting thing where he was one of those guys, and he had made it clear with certain people at this event or this voting event, whatever it was, that he would vote for Pete Rose if he were to be eligible. And apparently Frank Robinson, who's passed away since 2019, he was obviously still alive at that point, and chastised Tim about voting Pete in should he have been eligible. And Frank went even further by saying, if that guy ever gets in, and by the way, Frank had played with Pete Rose, and I had already heard about what Johnny Bench thought about Pete Rose, and we all know who Johnny Bench is, and we all know the Big Red Machine was, two-fourths of or half of that machine was Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, and Frank Robinson told Tim if Pete Rose ever got voted into the baseball Hall of Fame, he would never show up to Cooperstown for any events. So that likely took precedent over any chance of Pete Rose being someone who would have any shot at getting back to that place. And they still have to vote him in, even though he's eligible. I think what Commissioner Manfred probably did was, and there was apparently some pressure from the Trump administration to do this. I don't know why that's a thing. I don't think that's probably a pressing need right now, especially with Pete Rose not being here. Plus, I never really understood Congress getting involved with sports stuff. That I believe that's why you have a commissioner. That's why you have collective bargaining agreements. That's why you have a players association and representatives of the owner, which is the commissioner. The allowance in having Pete Rose be eligible is a shot at seeing if it's going to matter anyways. For me, looking at it from my perspective, what difference does it make? Pete Rose is gone. What is this for? Is it for his kids? I don't know who his kids are. I know he's got a son, at least one. Is it for his ex-wife? Is it for a sibling that's maybe still alive? I don't know. But what difference does it make now, really, if you vote Pete Rose in? And I initially thought that this would probably open the door for that until I started really doing some investigating on this the last couple of days. I don't even know if they're still going to vote him in, because you need to get at least 75% of the votes to get in, which means you got to have at least eight out of the 12, I believe, to 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 get him in. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. Uh, I'm sorry. That's 12. I'm sorry. My math is all off. 9 out of 12. 9 out of 12 to get voted in. And I feel after what I've heard and read the last couple days, I think I've changed my mind. I don't think he's going to get voted in. Now, Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Black Sox team, I don't really understand that either. I think Shoeless Joe Jackson died in 1950, so he's been dead for 75 years. I don't even know I don't even know if he's got anyone that's really tied to him in any way directly. Maybe there's a sibling that lasted longer. I don't know, but I don't understand that either. And when I read some of the transcripts of what happened during that time in articles that I'd read, he had admitted in court that he had thrown the game with 3 other guys. Like I think it was only 4 guys that admitted it. I don't know if they were pressured into doing that. I don't know the details of the court on that. But if he did, in fact, admit that he did throw games, even though he batted, I think, 375 in that series, I guess I'm going to believe him if he admitted it, right? So why would you reinstate him if he admitted he threw the game? Because I think throwing a game is worse than what Pete Rose did. Now, what Pete Rose did still is bad, but throwing a game is worse because you've completely shattered the integrity of that game, that series. It was officially fake. And while Pete Rose was betting, he bet for his team to win. If he had bet for his team to lose, then in my book, that would be the same thing. You're basically betting to lose because you can control the loss. You can't control the win. So what's my assessment on this? What is Pete Rose? Does Pete Rose belong in the Hall of Fame? I have so many people in my circles that say he does. And there's so many media people that say he does. I'm going to probably stick with the fact that it doesn't matter anymore. And since it doesn't matter, who cares? Pete's not going to be here to celebrate it. He's not going to be able to celebrate it with his friends, with his family. What difference does it make? Who is getting anything out of this? Is it just some random schmo that keeps saying Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame, Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame, or Rich Eisen getting on TV today and saying you need to put Pete Rose in there? Pete Rose did a despicable thing. He bet on baseball. Now, there is a little bit of room here. And again, this is different now than it would have been, let's say, 5 years ago. I don't believe it matters that he's in or not. And I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say stick with what you've been doing. I don't really think it matters. And what he did, I'm sure taught a lesson to anyone who even thought about it. And I think in the long run, it was actually a good thing for the future. But there is a little bit of hypocrisy here, especially with the way sports leagues have embraced gambling. And speaking of the A's tonight, they're going to be in Vegas in a few years when their stadium is built. And you all know how I feel about Vegas, and you all know how I feel about the gambling thing in sports. So can you stand on that pedestal that you've been standing on for 35 years now and say, well, he gambled on baseball, when you are constantly getting ad revenue from gambling sites and gambling avenues? Something to think about now, because now that changes the mindset a little bit, at least for me. Because if you're going to sit there and criticize gambling, yet you're going to take money from gambling, now how do you look? Now how are you going to look at it? That's something to consider. So that gives him a little bit of room to be in, because now you've gone and bet. And this was always an issue. This was also always an issue. And I initially thought it was a smart deal because Adam Silver started this thing. He knew where this was going. He knew that that the gambling support would allow more revenue and more eyes to keep coming and watching. This just kind of like a fantasy football thing, fantasy baseball, basketball. You have those eyes now even more because of those avenues. And gambling is even bigger. And if you make it more acceptable, now you're making money through those sites. And then and you're getting more support, you're promoting more people to gamble and ruin their lives and quote unquote enjoy the game better, right? I'm not a supporter of that. I'm not a supporter of that at all. So now, if I was to sit next to those 12 voters, that's going to be the first question I ask them. I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, listen, 10 years ago, before the before embracing the gambling, uh, and you said, well, he gambled on baseball, I'd be like, you're right. He gambled on baseball. It's a rule that it's the integrity of the game. It's important that you keep it safe, and this is how it has to be. But how do you explain it now when Major League Baseball has ads of FanDuel everywhere you go? Now what? How do you come off? How do you do it coming off not hypocritical? So that's going to be the big thing there. That's going to be the big thing that I'm going to be waiting on. I don't know if anybody's going to ask that question, but if I had the opportunity to ask, that's the question I would ask all 12 voters. So now that Pete is going to be on the ballot, are you going to consider the fact that there's support for gambling now, and will it factor into the voting? Are they going to come back and say, Joe, that's different? Of course they are, right? It's always different. You can always kind of move things in a certain way where it makes sense. And at the heart of it, it's not going to ever make sense. The league is supporting gambling. Doesn't matter if it's. I remember when the NFL would sell beer at every second of the day, every moment of the day during a game. Yet they wouldn't allow their players to promote it. I mean, how much more hypocritical can you be there? You won't let the players promote it, but you can. See that I was never really with that. That to me is ultimate hypocrisy. Uh, so that's gonna be the assessment on that. That's where I kind of stand on the Pete Rose thing, and been a lot of talk on it. So I wanted to kind of address it. I wanted to put it on tape here, so that in the future, if we ever come back and there's a vote, we can kind of bounce off what we said tonight and see what would it be when it does come down to voting time. Let's see. Pale Fox, during the World Series in question, Jackson had led both teams in several statistical categories and set a World Series record with 12 base hits. So why did he say in court that he was a part of the fix? That's a question that I think that's a question that we need to ask. What was it? I don't really know. I really don't know. It's too far back for me to know. Let me look at some things here. I had some articles that I was reading. Let me see if I can find something here. Jackson batted .375, like I said, with only the home run for either team. Let's see here. Sorry, there's so many damn ads on this damn site. Manfred announced Tuesday that he was changing the league's policy on permanent ineligibility, saying bans would expire at death. Rose and Black Sox were among 17 total players and executives reinstated. I don't know who the other 8 were. Let's see. So the trial of shoeless Joe Jackson. Where was it? Instead of the ring, I guess I'll have to get back on that. What did I say? For a minute there, I thought you were talking about me. Yeah, say it ain't so, Joe. I have heard that line, and I'm not gonna talk about this too much again because I don't know enough information. But if he admitted in court that he did it, then how do we look at this? How do we look at this? Do we look at it as maybe he was forced to say that so he wouldn't get in bigger trouble? Did he say that because there might have been an underworld thing going on where his life might be in danger? Uh, they were found innocent by their peers, but why did he admit it? I don't know. I don't know what that was about. That's the part that confuses me. There was four of them, including himself. Why did they admit that they threw the game if he didn't? So that's the that I've not been able to find that answer. Oh, so it was alleged that they admitted. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. So they allegedly admitted it, and there was never any. Again, I don't even know where to go with this. Um, I don't know what's going to happen now. Is Joe going to get in now? Like, is are these voters even gonna? Are they going to allow him in? Is there a good chance that they allow him in? I think that's something I'll do some investigating on, and maybe we'll do another show on it. But uh, it's definitely put some things up for baseball to watch in the middle of the season. Sometimes the season can get boring if you're not a baseball fan, but this kind of adds a little bit of spice. So I'll be kind of monitoring that, and we'll get into more detail as I study this a little bit more, and I'll have more information on it as we go. Uh, the next subject I wanted to talk about was Roki Sasaki just went on the IL, and the Dodgers DFA'd Austin Barnes and brought in Dalton Rushing. And there's word that Dalton's going to probably play a couple times a week to keep Will Smith fresh. But my issue right now with the Dodgers is what is going on with this medical staff. I know baseball has a major issue with pitchers and coming up lame. It's not just the Dodgers, but is it just me, or are the Dodgers at like level 9 in the red all the time with this? I mean, they're not pitching anybody. Are they going too soft on these guys? Do these guys mentally have to have everything perfect for them to pitch? It's getting kind of stupid now. Like, what is it? Is it the medical staff? Is it these guys pampering these guys too much? When you stop conditioning, when you stop doing things, is it that? Is it the fact that they're just not being used enough and they're just breaking down? I'd like to know. I'd like to know what some of you guys think. I don't know how to pinpoint it. How is it, I- is the spin rates and the speed in which they're throwing these things really that bad? Is it creating this issue? I don't know. I don't know. I need somebody to help me out with this. Something in the air. Three players blow Achilles in the NBA playoffs. Ankle broken at home plate. It's a full moon. That's funny you bring that up, Pill. I actually was talking to Gerald about this last night. About every year now, we're having somebody blowing out an Achilles in the playoffs or towards the end of the year. So what are these guys doing that are not that's causing this? Is it too much mileage? I think it is. I think a lot of these guys, Kobe, for example, when he blew out his Achilles, he was playing in what, his 17th season. You look at uh, Clay Thompson not too long ago. He was in his, well, he wasn't actually too far out, but he busted his Achilles because of his ACL. And then recently, and even then, you also had Durant bust an Achilles. He had been what? That was his 14th season or 13th season at that point. Then you have Damian Lillard, who's been playing for a while. He busts his Achilles, and then of course Tatum isn't that old. He got drafted in 2017. So I guess looking at longevity versus prime, it looks like there's no difference there. It looks like it's just something that's happening more and more. So what are these guys doing in their training? Maybe in Kobe's case, it was too much mileage. But it wasn't much for Clay. It wasn't much for Jason Tatum. So what's going on with those guys? What are those guys doing in their training that put them in this position? That's something to consider. Is it the way the game is being played? Is it the nutrition? Is it are they not conditioning well, preparing enough? I don't know. I can't figure that out. Let's see. Durant was pushing to try and take the Warriors home and lost series. I kind of wonder about that series. Now, at the time, I was cheering for Toronto to win and not thinking about anything other than that because I wanted Kawhi to be a Laker that summer. So I thought to myself, if they win a championship, if Toronto wins a championship, that makes it much easier for him to leave. He gives them a championship in that season he played, and then he can say goodbye. Obviously, things didn't play out that way. And looking back on it, maybe if Durant had just sat out and just let the Golden State Warriors win it without Durant, boy, what would that have been? And I don't know if Clay still injures his knee uh, in that game because they were playing hard and there was a lot of distractions. Again, I'm probably just making things up in my head at this point, justifying what maybe could have been saved. But it would have been very interesting to see if Durant had just stayed out of that series and healed up, and then uh, maybe Clay doesn't get hurt. Do they still beat Toronto? But we'll never know, I guess. But going back to the Georgia thing, man, I don't understand what's going on. I'm not there, and I can't figure out how Glasnow had issues. Snell, I know, starts the year off usually slow, but I don't remember him. Uh, I don't know. I guess he was out against the Giants. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. I don't know. Is it? Is it phantom IL stints? Is it really trying to just milk every win possible to make sure that they they can be ready for January? I'm sorry, July and August. I don't really know the answer, uh, but something has to be figured out here. There's got to be some kind of adapting, some kind of medical thing that these guys can do to start having pitchers last longer and not have to spend half the year on the IL, either through phantom IL stints or just legitimate IL stints. The Achilles tendon is the biggest in the body, and a bunch of muscles are connected to it. Joe, I honestly believe they need to let pitchers use stickum again. So so if it's kind of like the tush push in football, they don't let the defense do any pushing, right? But they'll let the offense do it. So in in baseball, they let pine tar be on the bat, right? Yet they won't let the pitchers use pine tar or any kind of sticky substance. And on top of that, you have a pitch count. So they're constantly having to grip that thing harder and harder so they can get their little spin rates, get the speed going, put the location where they want it, right? And now it's exasperated, right? It's exasperated it. I don't know. I don't know. The Players Association in baseball is pretty strong. Do they make a play on this? Do they come in on the next? Do they in the offseason? Do they come back and say we have to do something about this to give these guys a little bit of breathing room? But then what happens if the pitchers are able to pitch better, right? Because of analytics and being able to last longer, does that mean we're going to see a lot more 2-1 games? Because there's always this balance in baseball where it's kind of like when they make the offensive players or the offensive scheme in terms of the rule changes better so that they can score more, and then eventually the defense adapts, but then they have to change the rules again to make it easier again to score, right? And I don't know what else football can do to make it easier, right? You can barely touch the quarterback now. I can only imagine what would be next. You can't tackle the running back with two arms. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised though if it did happen. But in baseball, the pitchers and analytics are gonna figure you out, right? They're gonna figure out where to put the ball, and the easier you make it for them, the less likely that there's gonna be runs because you already have uh, batting champions winning batting titles at like 311. I mean, 311. I mean, I remember 311 was top, maybe top 10, top 15 sometimes, top 20 most of the times. So, what is it? What can they do to put less pressure on the arms of these pitchers? That's something that needs to be figured out. That's definitely something that needs to be figured out. I say MLB make an official stick 'em. You know, it'd be funny if there was a Stickum company that was like the gambling companies. I bet you they would. It's all about money, right? It's all about money. So making it easier for the pitchers to pitch. Uh, and the other thing is, I think a lot of this, and this is kind of my theory, a lot of it is these guys in baseball, the owners are the stingiest owners in all of sports, in my view. These guys, these guys probably don't want to have 20 game winning pitchers because salaries would go up. And you'll notice that pitchers are not really going to be getting a lot of these huge contracts. Guys like Yamamoto, guys like Garrett Cole, sure, but there's only a handful of those guys, and they're not even making that much money, right? They're uh, Yamamoto's highest paid pitcher right now at 325. Cole's at 324. I can't remember what his extension was. It obviously went up a little bit on that, but you're not gonna. I don't think these guys that own these teams want pitchers to win 20 games again and have the ability to pitch 7, 8 innings or complete games because it means they got to pay them more money. So by making it harder for the starting pitcher to uh, be great, you save money in the long run. You could pay relief pitchers, uh, really good relief pitchers, much less no matter the situation. So I think that plays a big part in it. Change the allowable bat sizes to compensate for the stickum allowed. I don't. I don't know. I don't honestly know what would work. I don't know. I really don't. Lowering the mound, raising the mound, bringing the mound up, getting rid of the pitch clock, which not going to probably happen. What is it? Something has to happen, and I think somebody needs to say something. Somebody needs to say something, and somebody needs to address what is going on with these pitchers, and do they care? That's going to be the other thing. So Wolves took out GSW and LA in 5. Will that be the new meme? And yo, I have to know your take on Dallas getting so damn lucky. uh I'm I'm disappointed that the Lakers had game 4 in Minnesota. They win that game, they probably win the series. They were up 10 going into the 4th. It was deja vu all over again, just like the Denver series. They kept having leads out of the half going into the 4th, and they just blew it. And the reason why they blew it is because you have guys that don't know how to close games. And JJ Redick didn't use his main resource in clutch games. I don't remember a single play being run for Luka Doncic in the entire time he was playing for the Lakers this last year to hit a game winning shot. It was either going to LeBron or it ended up going to Austin for a shot that he missed. I never understood what JJ was doing there. He never set up a play for Luka Doncic. It absolutely drove me nuts at the end. You have the one clutch player on that team. You never used him. That's probably the worst part of his season this year. That's probably the biggest just black hole of his first year. Why you couldn't devise a plan to get Luka the ball in the last seconds of a game. As far as Minnesota beating Golden State and LA unfortunately didn't have the cojones to finish the games out And then Golden State just didn't have enough once Steph Curry went down. So Minnesota is going to likely face, in my view, Oklahoma City. And then I believe Oklahoma City will beat Minnesota. Could be a 6-7 game. It could be a 6 or 7 game series, but I believe that Oklahoma City will finish off Denver tomorrow, and then they have the defense to kind of stymie Minnesota. So I'm predicting that OKC will face Minnesota, and OKC will end up winning and going to the finals. The luck of the draw, 1.8%. The luck of the draw. There's an interesting correlation with some of the trades that have happened in the last decade. I think it was Anthony Davis leaving New Orleans. New Orleans got the first pick. Luka getting traded to the Lakers. Dallas gets the first pick. Who was the other one? I'm trying to remember. I just had it at the tip of my tongue. LeBron leaves Cleveland. They get the number 1 pick. That was the other one. Hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, brother. So, yeah, there's an interesting correlation to big name players leaving their teams, and then all of a sudden that team ends up getting the first pick in the following draft. Now, as I say that, I need proof that this is rigged. And I don't know why they don't publicize the drawing, just like the lottery, right? Why don't you just show the balls going a certain way? I bet you if this was in the NFL, Roger Goodell would make an event of it, because that's what he does, right? He always tries to make more money by making everything an event, just like the awards at the end of the year. He turned it into like a mini Oscar type thing, which I think is stupid. I hate it in sports. I don't like award shows in general. But why not have it be an event? I think it's something that even the general audience would watch, because it'd be exciting. Ooh, look what's going on with the lottery. I don't understand why they don't do that. I think that'd be kind of cool. What's up, Juan? Welcome to the experiment. And by the way, for those of you who are chiming in for the first time, please like, subscribe, and click on that notification button so that when I show up once or twice a week, you'll be able to see me and hear me. And we talk about a lot of things here. Generally, we're going to be talking about the Dodgers, talking about the Lakers. That's kind of the 2 pillars. We'll be talking a lot of Steeler ball here soon, too, once the training camp starts. Mini camp is about to start. Training camp is not too far from that. And we'll talk more NFL now that the schedule is out. Tonight was really more for baseball. I wanted to talk a little bit about Pete Rose, and I want to talk about the Dodgers situation, on why they can't seem to keep anyone healthy, and why is it that ankle injuries seem to linger with this Dodger team. I have rolled my ankle God knows how many times in my life, and yes, I know that they get harder and harder to come back to normal the older you get. But I don't understand how a rolling of an ankle by seasoned athletes can linger this long. I mean, Jesus, hour and a half. Freddie's still doing hour and a half treatment on his ankle from his last game turn from last year. How what is his ankle made of, like, paper? Like, I don't get it. And then Tommy Edman, what the hell's going on with his ankle? Or is this just the Dodgers holding these guys off and just resting? I don't know. I don't get it. I'd rather play. Now, Freddie, he grinds it out. He's a beast. He still plays, so I can't really criticize the situation too much. He still plays, which is good. But I wanted to also talk about Austin Barnes a little bit and give him some props. I'm a big fan of Austin Barnes, ultimate team player, 2-time World Series champ. played with the Dodgers for 11 seasons, did everything and anything for that team. So I wanted to give Austin props because he absolutely deserved it, and it was quite a surprise to see him getting DFA'd. It came out of nowhere, and no one predicted this. No one saw this coming. This was very, very random and out of the blue. Pardon the pun. But I want to wish Austin Barnes all the success. Hopefully, he gets picked up and can continue to play. He deserves it. I actually thought he wasn't bad. He wasn't hitting too bad. So my feeling on this, without really knowing, I mean, I did see Dalton Rushing hit during spring training. I thought he was doing pretty well. Maybe it was just one of those things where I think the Dodgers had finally seen enough, and they said, no, we have to move him up. This is just something we have to do now. And we're going to get a chance to see Dalton and what he can be. The only issue is if he starts hitting, what are you going to do at catcher? Is Dalton going to go to left field? Is there going to be more stints of Will Smith sitting? I guess that's why they pay Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts the big bucks. They're going to likely have to make those decisions, and we're going to have to sit here and watch. Hey, what's up, JY? Good to have you here tonight, brother. I had to start the show early because I had some guys that, again, I was expecting the game to probably finish after 10 o'clock, but the game finished early. So I for some of the guys that have to sleep early, I started the show almost 30 minutes before I was scheduled to start. So, again, thanks for showing up, even though the show had already started. I might be here an hour. I might be here 2 hours. I'll see how things flow here in the next 17 minutes, and we'll kind of dictate that as we go. So JY says Minnesota beat two flawed teams. Neither Lakers or the Warriors had inside presence. Yes, yeah. The Timberwolves look like the Celtics last year in the East. The Celtics played every team in the East last year without their number one guy. I mean, it was a smooth sailing run in the East. And then they met Dallas, whom killed themselves to get to the finals, and they ended up, waxing them in 5. So if something happens to Shai Gilgeous, knock on wood that nothing happens, if something happens to Shai Gilgeous or something like that, where he can't play for a game or two or something like that, Minnesota might have a clear path to the finals. But if everybody stays healthy and things go well tomorrow against Denver, I do see Golden State. I do see Oklahoma City beating Minnesota in at least 6 and going on to the finals. But yeah, that seems to be the theme here the last few years about just not enough of the big names kind of playing well enough to finish these games, or not even making it, with injuries being a problem. Let's see. What now for GSW? That's a good question. They signed Jimmy to an extension, so he's going to be here for a while. Steph is still going to be here. I'm going to say they're going to try to acquire talent. They're going to try to acquire Giannis. I think there's going to be talks there. Whether they can or not, it's probably not realistic that they will, but because they just don't have enough assets. But they have Jimmy Butler signed for at least 2 more seasons, Steph Curry as well. So they're probably going to try to roll this out for 2 more seasons. And then Draymond Green is signed through 2027 as well, except that last year he's got a player option, which I believe he will take. So they're going to have to build around Curry, Butler, and Green still, and then they'll have Buddy Hield. He's still signed on for a few more years. Kuminga is up for a qualifying offer. Looney's in his expiring contract. That I don't know what they can package to go get another guy. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't think Golden State has enough to go get Giannis, because Milwaukee's going to want everything. They're going to want to talk to the Spurs. And I said, if for some reason the Thunder don't make it past Minnesota, if they were to beat Denver or they lose to Denver, I believe that they're going to have to make a deal for another star. They're going to have Presti's going to have to get somebody in there and try to win a championship. Otherwise, are you going to keep waiting and hoping? I guess you could. I don't think anybody in Oklahoma is going to put that kind of pressure on them because it is Oklahoma City. I think they're not. It's not like New York or LA. But I would like to think that Presti at some point will get pressed on himself. That hey, look, I've built two really, really good teams in my time. One, I really screwed up by trading James Harden. The other, now you're getting into a point where you keep getting one seeds and getting bounced. Well, maybe it's time that you go get one more star, play with Shea Gilgeous, and try to go win a championship. Pete Rose said the Hall of Fame would put him in when he died. Well, let's wait on that. They made him eligible to get voted in. Whether he's going to be voted in, I don't think so. Based off of you came in late here, JY. I had a story about Tim Kurchin. Kurchin, I always have a problem saying his name, where he got lambasted by Frank Robinson about 10 years ago when they were talking about how Tim would vote Pete in if he was eligible. And Frank Robinson basically told Tim that if he ever gets voted in, he would not show up to Cooperstown again. Now, Frank Robinson passed away in 2019, but he's not the only one. Johnny Bench is on record, on video, saying that he doesn't believe Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And that was his ex-guy. Like, that was his teammate. So Pete Rose probably burned a lot of bridges in his time. I think that probably plays a huge part. A lot of the reasons why probably Barry Bonds is not in as well, because he was a jerk to a lot of people. Roger Clemens, kind of an asshole too. Mark McGwire, I don't know if people believe that he would have been a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for steroids. There's probably merit there. Same with Sammy Sosa. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he started juicing. And I got an interesting stat that I wanted to throw your guys' way that I did a little research on. So and what triggered it was I was reading something on Facebook about who's better, Barry Bonds or Ohtani. Now, I don't think that's a fair question to ask right now. Ohtani's still at the beginnings of his prime. He's 30 years old. He still has 5 years left. If Freddie Freeman can continue to do what he's doing at 35, there's no reason why Ohtani can't be that effective probably for the next 5 to 7 years, right? So I implore everyone to wait. We still haven't seen him pitch. I believe he's going to pitch at least 2 more years. And if he ends up winning a Cy Young while batting, there's not going to be any doubt. Now, he doesn't have to win a Cy Young to be the greatest of all time, but if he's productive as a pitcher, and imagine pitching in the playoffs. Imagine this. Imagine he pitches in the playoffs, wins a game pitching, and hits a home run in that game. Imagine if he does that in a game-clinching, series-clinching game. So there's a lot of variables on how this can be dictated. That's what makes this so unique, is that he is writing something that we've never seen. We've never seen it. Even Babe Ruth didn't hit when he was pitching for the Red Sox. He stopped pitching and started hitting. Now, I'm sure he hit and pitched in certain games. I think I remember reading that, but it wasn't like an everyday thing. It wasn't like year in and year out. So what happens? I'm going to get to the Bond statistic that's going to probably clear some things up on this, because people like to listen to what they hear, and media people are the worst. Mainstream sports media are the worst at this. The more I listen to those guys talk, like a Rich Eisen and all these schmoes like Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley and all those guys, the more I realize that they don't know shit about anything. And what's crazy is these guys did this for a profession, and they still don't know shit. They don't do any research. They don't go even look at anything that makes sense. Some do, but none of the mainstream ones that I see. So Ohtani, how is he going to write this out? So let's look at this scenario. Ohtani starts pitching in June, which is in a few weeks, right? Let's say that happens. Let's say he pitches 4 times a month, basically once a week. And that's July. That's June, July, August, September, which is the regular season. So that's 4 months. That means 16 starts. 16 starts. So what happens if he goes 12-2 in those 16 starts? So he has two no decisions, 2 losses, and 12 wins. Let's just say hypothetically that's how it turns out. And he has a 2.5 ERA. Oh, and by the way, he goes 40 for 40. So that I'm throwing that out there, just playing it safe, right? He's on pace right now to get 40. But he's also ahead of his pace from last year before he went 50-50, right? But let's just say the pitching does take a little bit back on his hitting. He goes 12 wins, 2 losses, and then throws a 2.5 ERA. Goes 40 for 40 in that sequence. He's winning the MVP again. And then, and you'll never see that. Will he win the Cy Young? If he does that, we're not going to know that either, right? Which pitcher is actually going to win have double digit wins, right? That's always kind of like the mystery now. Who's actually going to pitch enough to have 10 wins? So we don't know yet. I'll have to assess that when maybe August comes and where Ohtani is. And for all we know, they might hold off Ohtani to pitch in July. And then at that point, there's no chance of him winning a Cy Young. But imagine that. Imagine he wins the Cy Young and goes 40 for 40. Oh, and by the way, he ends up pitching in the playoffs and winning a LCS MVP, winning a World Series title. There's no doubt, even if he just pitches this year and never pitches after this year, which by the way, I think might happen. I think that might happen. If he wins a Cy Young this year, if he pitches enough to win a Cy Young and they win it all and he's still hitting well and pitching well all at once, I wouldn't be surprised if they sat him forever after that. Because what else does he need to accomplish? Why would he want to risk injuring his hitting at that point? He could be the DH for the next 6-7 years, well, the remaining of his contract, which would be 8. And he would be a 500 home run hitter. He'd be a 500 stolen base guy, which, by the way, Barry Bonds is the only player in MLB history that is 500 home runs, 500 stolen bases. So going now back to Bonds, something to consider, guys, something to remember here. Because we're so enamored by how Bonds looked between 2000 and 2006, I think we lose focus on who he was before he likely started using gear. So I did a little research. Bonds came into the MLB in 1986, and I'm running the numbers at year 14 of its completion in 1999. The reason why I stopped it there is because I believe Barry started juicing or using growth hormone, which is likely what he used based off the appearance. He used probably other things, but for sure he was on growth based off his appearance. I believe he started using in 99. Now, for those of you who don't know a lot about growth, this is something I learned recently from bodybuilder family members that I know and people that are in that world. Growth doesn't really take full effect for about 6 months. Like 6 months, 8 months. So my theory is he started using around maybe at the end of the 99 season. He didn't have a bad 2000 season. It just wasn't astronomically crazy like it was between 01 and 2006 in that range, right? But he was second in the MVP in 2000. So I think he was on stuff that year. And then, of course, 01 was when he hit 73 home runs. So he became a superhero between 2000. And by the way, This was his 15th season. 15th season. Let me say this again. 15th season where he started going crazy and then ended up between 2000 2006 having gaudy numbers out of nowhere, right? From year 1 to 14, though, guys, 14 is when you're supposed to start to go down in sports. Bonds is known as the best hitter people have ever seen. Chipper Jones has confirmed it. Media guys have confirmed it. Baseball people have confirmed it. All that stuff. Fans have confirmed it, whether they're adversaries or not. But the stat I saw that was very interesting in terms of the possible fallacy that he was a great hitter was that if you average out his batting average from when he started in 87 to my assessment of when the last year he didn't use, which is 99, he only batted 287. So, what triggered this little investigation on my part? What's up, Best League? Good to have you here, brother. What is that? What does that? What does that say? Am I going too much into the numbers? Baseball's about numbers. That's the one sport where I will roll with the numbers more than circumstance in a lot of ways because a baseball player only has one shot per 9 shots to make a difference. Make a difference. You can make a difference in the outfield, of course, but it's not as prominent. You can't score runs on defense, right? You can save runs, but you can't score on defense in baseball. So, no, Pale. He was 287 between 87 when he came into the league and 1999. 1999 was his 14th season, and he averaged 287. So I'm not saying Barry Bonds isn't one of the greatest hitters of all time. What I'm saying is, how are you going to justify the numbers pre-gear and then compare it to Shohei Ohtani, who isn't on anything and is also playing against much stiffer pitchers, at least when they're performing? You're talking about guys with spin rates that'll make your head spin, guys that are dropping 99. There was a time where there was only a handful of pitchers, especially in Bonds' era, that could throw that fast, right? Matter of fact, I don't even know more than a couple. Like Nolan Ryan was one. The other was Rob Dibble, that just coming up in like my memory. So, and I don't even know if Dibble really, yeah, he threw heat. So that's the guy. And so what is it? You know, I don't like to do that because we get in that with the basketball stuff. But let's say each era had its advantage and disadvantages. All things equal, Shohei isn't on any gear yet. He's being compared with Bonds and saying, well, Bonds was a better hitter. Was he really? What would Shohei look like on gear? Is Shohei hitting 70 home runs? Probably, guys. He can definitely steal 70 bases without gear. That's for sure. If he really went after it, I mean, he almost had 60. Should have had 60 last year. I could see him get 70 if he had to. So take that into consideration. Again, this is always going to be available for future discussions because this is not going to be the only time we discuss this. We got to wait for Shohei to finish his career before we can compare to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is the only guy we can really compare in terms of all-time greats, at least in my view, because we weren't around for Babe Ruth, right? Willie Mays was great. Hank Aaron was great. Stan Musial was great. Mickey Mantle was great. Joe DiMaggio was great. But a lot of these guys we didn't get a chance to see. Let's see. Barry Bonds got walked with the bases loaded in the World Series. I've never seen that before. So, definitely the scariest hitter so far. And he he was being walked even before steroids. If you look at a lot of his stats, he still had triple-digit walks during that time. So all things considered, Barry Bonds. I'm not saying that Barry Bonds is not a good hitter or one of the greatest hitters or if the greatest hitter, but I want you to take that. I want you to remember this: that pre-gear, he was a 287 hitter. Is that considered great? Is that considered great? That's not a great batting average. Let's just put it that way. And he did other things. So I'm just saying, we're going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait at least 8 more years to compare Barry Bonds with Shohei Ohtani. And we'll talk more about that. But remember that and tell your friends whenever they start talking about Barry Bonds, most people know. Most people will say, well, what about juice? What about steroids? Well, before, he was still a Hall of Famer. He was a 3-time MVP, multiple Gold Gloves. Couldn't throw at Sid Bream though from short left, but that's a different story. uh, but I, without sounding, like I'm wearing the blue glasses, once Ohtani pitches, at least for a couple seasons for the Dodgers, and ends up being an impact there during the season and in the postseason, I don't think it's going to be an argument that Shohei Ohtani will eventually be the greatest baseball player that's ever played. Who has the most all-time home runs with runners in scoring position? That's a hell of a question, Pale. I never even thought of that. Wow. Do you know that answer? Or are you asking us? If you have the answer, I'd love to know. Really? Huh. That's an interesting stat. So Mike Schmidt, Hall of Famer, Philadelphia Phillies, 500 home run player. I wonder if he's one of those guys that didn't want Pete in, because he was his teammate too in Philly. Yeah, that should mean something, Pale. That should mean something, because that's more that win rate goes up when you can hit home runs that are more than one. That's a great one. That's a great one. I never even thought about that. I did think about this though once. There's never been a player that has hit a solo home. There's been players that have hit 4 home runs in a game. Matter of fact, I think I can't remember who it was that did it this year. I can't remember. Somebody did it this year, just a few weeks ago. But imagine someone hitting 4 home runs in a game, and it's a solo homer, a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and a grand slam. Looking at Ohtani's 6 for 6 and near cycle in the Miami 50-50 clincher last year, that missed triple by a hair. I can't remember who the outfielder was that threw it perfectly. If he had just been off by a few inches, Ohtani would have had the cycle with the 6 for 6. And then there would have been no doubt the greatest game of all time, even though it sort of is, but that would have been like the button, right? The only thing that would probably beat that is if somebody hit 4 home runs in a game, went 4 for 4, and had a solo, a 2-run, a 3-run, and a grand slam in those 4 home runs. That might be the greatest game ever. I think it's Freddie Freeman, Pale. Let me check on that one. Active RBI leader. Yeah, it's Freddie. Goldschmidt is second. So Freddie right now has 1,265. Paul Goldschmidt has 1208. And then everyone else is like at least the remaining 7 before that, the 5 below them is they're all in the 1100s, pretty much. Freddie Freeman is leading in almost everything in terms of active. Freddie Freeman. Let me look at Freddie Freeman. Let's see, Freddie Freeman. Looking at where he is statistically, he is sitting right now on 352 home runs, which means it's very likely he will get to 400. He'll probably get to 1,500 RBIs before it's all said and done. He is where are we? He's batting 301 in terms of his lifetime batting average. Where is it? Where's the one that I was looking for here? Oh, there it is. So he also has 2,308 hits. He'll pass 2,400 this year. The question now is, will he play another 4 years to get 3,000 hits? Because he'll probably need 400. I'm sorry, 4 years. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but now that I brought up Freddie Freeman, there's been a lot of talk about Freddie and who he's going to wear, what hat he's going to wear to Cooperstown. So I'll ask you guys this, and Best League, I'll get to your question on that in a minute here. What right now, Freddie Freeman's contract runs out. Let's see. Right now, Freddie is signed through 2027. So he's got 2 years left after this season. Let's say the Dodgers win 3 of the next 4 championships, and Freddie wins another series MVP in the playoffs, wins a batting title maybe this year. I don't think he's ever won a batting title, has he? I don't think he has. Let me look. He won the MVP in 2020. I know that. So he's never won a batting title. Yeah, he's never won a batting title. Let's see. Let me make sure here real quick. Let's see, batting title. No batting title. Okay, so he wins a batting. Let's say he wins a batting title this year because he's hitting pretty well right now. Wins 3 more World Series or 2 more. He has one now. 2 more in the next 3 years before his contract runs out, and wins another series MVP in the playoffs. Does he go in as a Brave or a Dodger? Now, my instincts tell me he's going to be loyal to Atlanta no matter what. That was his first team. That was the team he wanted to stay on. He'll pay the homage to Atlanta, right? But should he? Should he? He has one of the most famous home runs in MLB history in a Dodger uniform. He will have trumped championships should he win 2 more, 3-1 in LA gear. He'll have won a scoring title. He'll have won, let's say if he wins another league series MVP, he will have won 2 with the Dodgers in that area. How does he not go in as a Dodger? He'll always be remembered as a Dodger to the public. Good question. Another good question. We're going to have to wait and see. Let me get the Best League about basketball here real quick. Aaron, what's up, brother? Good to see you, brother. Could DeAndre Ayton plus Julius Randle Turner be home run for the Lakers? Ooh. Well, Julius is probably going to opt out of his player option here this summer. I think that's probably why he's playing balls out right now. DeAndre Ayton would be probably more realistic in a trade because I think Portland wants to move him. I think Julius. I don't think Minnesota would sign and trade Julius to come to LA. I think they're just going to they'll either sign him or let him go. They're not. They're going to keep either Naz Reid or Julius Randle, and that'll depend on, I think, how the season ends and how those two guys play to finish the season. Turner, I think, is gonna garner $30 million per. I think, at least for a few years. And I don't. Indiana's not going to do any kind of sign and trade with the Lakers. So I don't think. I think if you have to pick a player where the Lakers had a chance to get, I think they have a chance of getting DeAndre Ayton in a trade. What they have to give up, probably Rui, probably Reeves. I would say I don't mind getting rid of one. I don't want to get rid of two in that case because you just don't know what DeAndre is going to be. I think DeAndre would acclimate with Luka there and LeBron at least for 1 year. He'll be a good boy because Luka and LeBron will find him down low, and Lakers are in no position right now to pick and choose who they can get. If they can get a legitimate starter that can play center and with his skill set, you got to make that deal. If you can make that deal without giving up Austin and Rui, you damn well better believe you got to make that deal happen. But I don't think it's possible. I think they have to put those guys in there because they'll want something. Unless Portland wants to, just take draft picks and some swaps and expiring contracts. I don't know, but it's going to be fun talking about that one because I think that one would be interesting if Rob can coax Portland into making that deal. Let's see. Freddie is like the ultimate pro, set an example for Shohei. These guys really aren't messing around for their back-to-back motives. Yeah, Aaron, I was talking about the medical staff a little bit about what's going on with that. Is it the medical staff? Is it Robertson, Friedman being too cautious? Are they babying these guys too much? In the end, I guess they're the champs, so we're going to have to sit here and wait and see how it plays out. Lakers have no assets to build around Luka because of James' contract. They effed. Yes and no. We'll give them the summer to see what happens. My assessment on the LeBron thing is they cannot commit to him beyond 2026. That's the only ask I have. Do not do a 1+1 with LeBron. If the Lakers can improve their team enough to where they win it next year, then I'd be totally open to bringing back LeBron after that. But if not, if they crap out again because they can't close games, LeBron has to be playing his last year in a Laker uniform in 2026. That's where I stand on that. Kershaw, Teoscar, and Edmund all mostly likely back this weekend. Thank God. Thank you, Aaron. I actually hadn't heard that. That would be a huge, huge, huge boost. I'm tired of these injuries. They're going to give LeBum a 1+1, and they'll finally be done with him. Yeah, if they do that, then this is going to spell a retraction in the Luka era. This is where Luka's representation needs to put the pressure on the Lakers. They hold the control in a lot of ways here. If they commit to LeBron for another year beyond 2026, I think if I was Luka's agent, I'd be like, well, we're gonna look for other options when Luka's ready to go. We won't sign an extension, and we'll play this out. Just saying, man, you'd be playing with fire if it was me. You'd be playing. That's why those are the times you want to have an agent. Those are the times because 2026, just so you guys know, 2026 could be if Luka does not sign an extension this year for 5+ whatever that ends up being, right? Or he does a 2+1, which would be the better deal because in 2 years he can get more money than what he would have gotten in Dallas, right? So let's say his agent is smart and says, if you guys are going to extend LeBron, that means we can't build this team around Luka, which means next year Luka has an option to decline his player option, and he could become a free agent next summer. Control this, Luka people. Control this. make sure you tell Rob and Jeannie we have to. We do not want to commit unless we know that we're building for Luka once LeBron's contract is over in 2026. If they win a championship with LeBron, then it's okay. Then we'll figure it out. So that's where I stand on that. Let's see. Yes, we need to get rid of all assets, including Austin and Dalton, but we need 2 switchable 4-5 centers. If you're going to trade Austin, it's got to be for a considerably better player. If you're just going to get a player that's not going to be a bona fide starter, like a legit starter on any team that he's on, and someone that could really help this team on both sides, then trading Austin would be a lateral move. Dalton is going to be a great shooter in the NBA. I would, unless it really absolutely is necessary to get a game changer here, I would hold on to Dalton. Don't make the same mistakes you made before. Don't do it. They traded Zubac too early. They let go of Caruso when they didn't have to. Don't do this with Dalton. Dalton has NBA range, and he's got heaters. And he's got heaters in his future. He can be that guy, and it's perfect for our Luka team. Him sitting in the corner, him sitting at the top of the 3-point line. I mean, guys, we got to let this play out a little bit. Him not being able to play his rookie season should not be a detriment, man. No, rookies don't normally play well anyways. He looked like a deer in headlights. We get it, but that's what happens when you're a rookie. I want to wait and see if Dalton, unless it's absolutely necessary. I want to see Dalton stay. I want to see what he can be here in the next year or two. That's how I feel on that. I'm really happy for Kim, his first regular season homer. Yeah, that was kind of cool. You could tell that was out, by the way. His Ichiro swing, you could tell that was going to go out. If James leaves, they have about 14 mil of his salary to spend, many moves to be made. Well, yeah, that's in its current setup, right? But the Lakers have several expiring contracts this year, so this will open things up. Even if the Lakers don't trade anybody like Kleber or Vincent or Rui in this summer, they still have those all coming off the books next year. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, is got a player option next year as well. He may pick that up, or he might decline it, and that's another 15 mil off the books. So I don't know how that's going to play out. I like DFS. I actually wouldn't mind bringing him back even after next year, especially if you're building around Luka. What better guy to have that can guard 1 to 5, good role player, can get on heaters as well. Luka loves him. He loves Luka. I think DFS should be a guy that should be in the future plans if the Lakers are serious about building with Luka now, right now, and especially this time next year. I'd walk. Could be something. Could be something. What if we swap Darius Garland for LeBron? Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Congrats on surpassing. Aaron, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be this quick. Again, thank you all for subscribing. Thank you for watching. I was contemplating whether I was going to do something like this, months ago, but Empire Jeff kind of pushed me, and Gerald put the seed down a year ago, and finally had to make the commitment, man. So again, thank you all for supporting the channel. I'm looking forward to continuing the production value going up, and we'll have more fun. I'm thinking about doing some unique stuff here too, in terms of how to interact with you guys even more. So please stay tuned. For those of you who are watching that are new here, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification button. I'm going to be on here once or twice a week, and as things get going, especially during free agency and the draft, then you'll probably see me even more. So again, just be patient. We're gonna be showing some good stuff here. Next season, like LeBron level talent. You really believe that, Pale? Huh. Haven't heard that. I'll see. We're gonna have to see. I'm gonna talk to Stone. We're gonna talk to Stone tomorrow. If you guys want to chime in on the Lakers fast break, Tomorrow will probably be in the afternoon. I'll ask Stone what he thinks about that assessment. I think that'll be a good discussion to have with him. Dalton can definitely play a role. Yeah, you got don't. And there's a history here, guys. There's a history of giving up on guys too early. I don't want that to happen again, especially for someone that can shoot like this. Don't give up on Dalton yet. Don't give up on him unless it's absolutely necessary to get a huge return back. Not Mark Williams either, which I commend Rob for rescinding that. Ichiro swing never goes out of style. That's true, Aaron. That's for sure. If Gabe is still on the team next season, I feel very comfortable, Jay, very comfortable that between Vincent and Kleber, you have $22.5 million there. That they have two contracts there that they can use to plus draft capital and some swaps. They can go and get somebody without touching the depth. It's just a question of who. We'll have to see what happens there. DFS is a good bench player. Yes, pal, he is, and I hope they keep that. I hope he's in their future plans. He's a little older though, but I wouldn't mind next year if he picks up the option or if he wants to sign maybe an extra year or two. He's in his early 30s. I think he's got at least 3 or 4 years left. Again, he's familiar with Luka. They like each other. He serves a purpose. He's got a good skill set. I think as you build this team and put better parts on it, I think his talents will only enhance from that. No disrespect. I think it's good you're doing your own things. No, you're not disrespecting, Gary. This was probably inevitable, even though I was denying it. My time is difficult to gauge. I can be 14 hours straight, or I could be 14 minutes straight, or I could be 0 minutes straight. My schedule is a very inconsistent activity. It's like a sprint. I sprint and it's a sprint. And then all of a sudden I'm not sprinting anymore. It's not necessarily somebody thought it was more of a marathon, it's just like, in spurts. It's not a marathon. There's consistency in a marathon. You get into a little flow when you're in a marathon, right? There is no marathon here. It's a sprint. And sometimes those sprints can go 100 meters, could be 200 meters, could be 400 meters. But once it's done, then I'm not doing anything after that. And it's very hard to commit. Committing and being a man of your word is important here. So I'd rather deny my availability and say, I don't know. I'm not doing this now because I don't know what can happen, rather than take a chance and all of a sudden have it not work. So this is kind of a nice setup so far, where I'm doing a couple shows a week and we're able to talk. And it's a little bit different than, just a tad bit different than Gerald's show. Gerald is a pitcher, and he throws his pitches and we hit. And sometimes when you have that kind of game, your aggressiveness will vary. In this situation, I'm the pitcher, and pitchers are not normally are going to be pretty consistent. They're going to have kind of a consistent flow. Versus, let's say, a batter who's going to try to hit one out or try to get one to the opposite field. Soft, hard, big swing, small swing, whatever. It's a little bit different. Although when I do have people on the show, when there's more communication in terms of banter through another commentator, those things can also come back as well. LeBron needs to opt out and go back to Cleveland and take Brian. I don't think there's a Sam's. I don't even know what that means, by the way. Sam's Hell's Chance, Hell's Champs, Hell's Sam's Chance, Sam's Hell's Chance. I got to research on that. What the hell that means? What's Sam and Hell have to do with anything? I don't think there's a damn chance of any way of LeBron opting out. Remember, I told you guys. Number one is $50 million. The other is He is going to want the parade when he's playing his last season. He's going to want his ass kissed. He's going to want the flowers. He's going to want the cars, the awards, all the ass kissing stuff. This is the greatest narcissist in NBA history, in my view. He's going to want that, and he ain't going to deny that for anybody. We gave up JHS already and don't regret. Great move, by the way. That added the spice to the Luka thing, right? And not only did you get rid of him, but you sent him to Utah with Danny Ainge not knowing what the hell was going on. I don't know how the hell Rob did that, by the way. Hey, Craig, how you doing, bud? JY, unfortunately, they're about 3 years too late, but yes, he needs to go. Yes, indeed. Snowball's chance. There you go. See, I don't know where Sam's came from. That's probably my bad. Jim Ross would say that a lot. There ain't a snowball's chance in hell. The rattlesnake. Hellfire and brimstone whenever Kane showed up. Yeah, Texas Rattlesnake was the best one that he used to say. Joe, do you like T Prince and KBJ D'Lo if we trade Rui Austin for replacement in free agency? No, I do not. I do not. I do not want Prince. I do not want D'Lo. Porter Jr. is intriguing, but he makes too much money. And I don't believe Denver would trade him to LA. They trade him to LA, they're going to have to likely they're going to have to give up Rui to make the contracts work because I think he's making, let's see if I remember correctly, he'd be making close to 40 million. So yeah, so it'd be a Rui, Kleber, Vincent, and probably a one if you wanted to go get Porter Jr. But Porter Jr. didn't look too good in the last game, guys. I think he only scored 4 points. And he's a walking injury. I don't know if that's something they'd want to dump all their expiring contracts for. I think if they're going to dump one of their mainstays like Rui or Austin with the expiring contracts and a first round pick, I think they're going to want somebody in a position where they really need something, like really, really need like a bona fide, like a Kessler, like a young stud center, something like that. Let's see. My God, I you remember, guys? It was at 45 minutes, and then it was like 45 minutes right away, like later. KPJ is not MPJ. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Kevin Porter Jr. Ooh, Kevin Porter. Sorry, I don't know why I saw an M there. Oh man, I got my brain thinking here. I guess the question there is, why would Milwaukee make that deal? That's really the question. Because it would work for the Lakers. But why would Milwaukee make that deal? He's making nothing right now. You wouldn't even need to trade anything. He's making like $2 million. I don't know. I don't have an answer on that one. That's a good one though, Jay. That's a good one. I think we'll have to marinate on that one a little bit. I got to do a little bit more thinking on that one. Looks like we're going to miss out on Giannis sweepstakes with lack of future assets, and that stings. We were never really into the Giannis thing, guys. What were they going to trade for Giannis? Giannis would have to demand to go to LA, which is a possibility. He could say, I want to go play with Luka. But I don't know if that's the case. I think his best bet would be to go to San Antonio. I think they're RC Buford and the Spurs and Pop with the talent that's there. I could see a deal where San Antonio sends Milwaukee draft picks, the second pick, Castle. I would ask for Castle 100% if I'm Milwaukee. I want Castle. Castle on your second pick and a bunch of draft picks, and we'll send you Giannis. And then You have Giannis, Wemby, and De'Aaron Fox. That's a formidable team. That team would probably work. But the Lakers, oof. I think the Lakers will probably, unless somebody demands to go to LA and they're significant, Lakers are probably going to have to wait till 2027 to really probably get that next star, because there's a few guys that are going to be available in 2027, guys that can opt out, like Donovan Mitchell's going to be one of those guys. Jokic will be one of those guys. If Giannis didn't get traded out of Milwaukee or didn't sign an extension, which I think whoever he gets traded to, they're gonna extend him. But let's say Giannis played out the last 2 years of his contract, he can opt out in 2027, go wherever he wants. So 2027, summer of 2027, I think will be the summer where the Lakers probably put together the team in a way where they have the ability to, versus hoping for certain things to play out this summer and next summer. That summer, they would hold probably control over building the team the way, to the point where they can actually go into that 27-28 season as one of the favorites to win it all. That's how I look at that. I believe the answer to a Luka team is to surround with two-way players, not stars, guys that play for 48 minutes both ways. Yes. However, this is the construction that has to happen. Number one, I believe he needs a big that's athletic and can play defense. If he can shoot, even better, right? Then he needs two players that can shoot from either corner. Now, that could be a second star. A second star could be one of those guys, or just two really good shooters, really good, scary shooters. And then preferably maybe somebody in the backcourt that could also be a star and play. One other star player, two good shooters, and a legitimate defensive center. You put that team together for Luka, and I believe he'll be an MVP, and he will win. In my view, he'll win multiple titles. Lakers have shown a history that they will build a championship team with their stars. They always have. I just don't know how long it'll take. I won't know until we won't really know until LeBron figures out what he wants to do, because then he can get a better assessment on what's going to happen. KPJ's best replacement if we trade Austin. But the question is, why would Milwaukee trade him? He still has another year on his contract, right? This 2026, he makes two. He makes. Oh wait, hold on a second. I think Kevin has a player option. So if he opts out, that means he has to sign outright with the Lakers. Well, the Lakers are not going to have. Is he going to get 10, 15 mil per? The Lakers will get priced out at that point. So he'd have to take, I think, the 5 mil MLE, since the Lakers are below the second apron. Have to look into that. Definitely be, if he wants to double his pay, come to the Lakers for a couple of years. That could happen. He has control over that. Which player is worth the MLE? Kevin Porter Jr. would be. I'd say that would be a good pickup. All the Texas teams would probably be better options than the Lakers for a win now situation. I don't know about that, Gary. See, Wemby and his blood clot is scaring me now. That's scary. And if there's a trade to San Antonio, yes, that probably would be the best option for Giannis. But does Giannis want to go to San Antonio? We don't know that. I remember he was talking not too long ago about how the international guys should all go to big markets. I don't know if that was a tell. I don't know if that was foreshadowing things. But until we know where he wants to go, we're not going to really have a way of understanding what the options are. He's going to have to say, I will go to San Antonio, Houston, or the Lakers. That's usually how it starts when there's a player demanding to go somewhere. They have a list, right? So if he says, I have a list that I want to go to with these teams, then at that point we can start figuring out what the best option would be. We don't know that list yet. I think we'll maybe find out here in a few weeks. Let's see. We were missing Nick T and Sharon B. I haven't seen Sharon here in a while. Nick T I haven't seen today. If LeBron give a pay cut, we could get him with a full MLE. I don't think he's going to take a pay cut, Best. Sports Bay, Luca hater, Nick T. He's gotten a little bit better. And again, if you guys want to hate on Luca, it's up to you. But I would not recommend it, considering he's probably going to be here for a while. Let's see. Let's see. I do evening shifts, my guy. Yes. One say no tax state. Is that legit too? What is a no tax state? You got Tennessee, you got Texas, you got Oregon. I'm trying to think of states that have NBA teams. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Oregon. But do we know that? Giannis in a Laker uniform? He'd have to wear number 35, though. Or 43. Does Giannis become a bigger international star being a Greek if he goes to LA? Does his outside the court money go up to cover the salary loss in California? That's a question we would have to ask ourselves. Giannis will not screw the Bucks. He is waiting to see the offers to make sure they get the best offer equals to where he wants to go. Yeah, but he's not gonna go somewhere he doesn't want to go either. That's the question. We don't know. What if New York loses to the Celtics or the Pacers? Do they make a deal for New York? Does he want to go to New York? Package Brunson and Bridges for Giannis? Probably not. They'll probably keep Brunson, but maybe they trade Miles for Giannis. I don't know. Or maybe they trade Cat. Is that enough? Do they have enough in draft capital, being that they sent a lot to Brooklyn? It's going to be a tough one, man. And Empire Jeff talked about how Brooklyn seems to be a team that gets talked about a lot. Maybe that's why. Maybe that is why, because they have an abundance of capital, and Giannis wants to go maybe to a big market, which Brooklyn is. They're in New York. Maybe that's where. Maybe there's some validity to that. Maybe he ends up going to Brooklyn, because that would make everybody happy. He goes to a big market. He's still the man there, right? They have the draft capital to send to Milwaukee to make Milwaukee happy. I don't know what kind of player you can send over there. They don't really have anybody. I don't know. I'd have to look. Let's see where Brooklyn is. What do you send? Cam Johnson? Who would you send? There's not really a lot of next level talent there. So I don't even know if that would work. So no sales tax, plenty of income tax. That's true. That's what it is. I will remember when Arnold ran for governor. Yeah, I remember that time. Mr. Gray Davis. Mr. Gray Davis is on my diploma. Mr. Recall Davis. Shaq, Kobe 2.0, Giannis and Luca. I'd say it's closer to Kobe and Powell. Kobe and Powell. There'll never be another Shaq and Kobe. They'll never be. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Giannis would have to make that call, but there would have to be a third team that could be brokered into this so that the Lakers can go and make sure that Milwaukee is happy too. If he demands it, it would happen. So Giannis would have to demand to go to the Lakers for that to happen. Otherwise, it won't happen. LeBron said he will take a $10 million pay cut, but in my opinion, that won't help much. When the hell did he say that, Juan? I don't remember hearing that. LA is best market for him. True. I think it'd be best playing with Luca. Best place for Giannis to shine is next to Luca. I agree. Their two games would mesh very well. LeBron needs to cut more than that. LeBron needs to retire in 2026. I'm not going to sit there and expect him to take a pay cut. And it won't matter anyways. Really wouldn't matter. There's not enough talent this summer to acquire anybody of worth. Everything has to be done in the sign and trade anyways. So whether he takes a pay cut or not doesn't really help anything. Hell, even retiring wouldn't help. I'd rather have him for one more year because you're probably not going to be able to cover him unless they send him to Milwaukee, to be honest, which is not going to happen. Yeah, Gerald, Jeff has been hearing things about Brooklyn, and it makes sense because Brooklyn has the assets, but they don't have a lot of talent to send back to Giannis. I think they only have really what Claxton is going to be the only guy he's going to be making the most money there, and I don't even know if they may trade him somewhere else too. I don't know. Not enough players to send to Milwaukee. It would have to be all draft capital, but I don't know how that would work out. Brunson with Giannis is scary. That would work. That would work. If New York doesn't win it all, there's, depending on how many what assets they have that they could send out. They have some talent. They could send Mikal Bridges there. They could send over OG. They can do some kind of combination of Mitchell Robinson, Cat, something like that. There's definitely players that they could send to Milwaukee, but I think Milwaukee will want a lot of draft capital in that deal. A lot of swaps and probably 3 first-round picks that are unprotected, that kind of thing. They have the most cap space and 4 first-round draft picks this summer. So there you go. I just don't see it. Giannis would want to leave because he's not going to win, right? That's probably what it is, right? So why would he want to go to Brooklyn in a place where there's no talent? There's no talent there now. So the little talent that they do have, now what? And it's not like they have the first pick in the draft. Welcome, Gerald.
What's up? No, I just wanted to make sure that Ben Simmons contract comes off the books. So they will have significantly more cap space than anyone this summer. So if Milwaukee wants cap space to reload in 2026 when they get off of hopefully Damian Lillard by that time, they could have a ton of cap space in 2026 when there's a big free agent market. Plus, Brooklyn has 4 first-round picks in this year's draft alone. So they don't necessarily have to go, okay, Claxton, this, that. I mean, they can, but if Milwaukee just wants cap space, they can just, they can work that out because Brooklyn can absorb it all right now, or virtually all of Giannis's contract.
I have no inkling of any direction for him yet. I have no idea. It makes sense for both parties in San Antonio and Milwaukee to make something work because you know that there's deals there that would make sense. Packaging the number 2 Castle and whatever fillers that you have in there for Giannis would be something that would make total sense for each organization.
What about Houston, though? Houston
But
has a ton of draft picks and a lot of young talent.
yes,
Thompson,
but there isn't a
Sengun.
Wemby, and there isn't a Wemby. If you go to Houston, you're depleting their assets to the point where now it's Giannis essentially playing in Milwaukee, except it's a Houston now.
Van Vliet and Sengun and picks.
Van Fleet is at the end of his career, kind of, right?
But that's
Sengun
40 million coming off the books. Well, 40 million comes off the books the following year. That's the only
I think the only team that makes sense for Giannis from a winning standpoint immediately is San Antonio. And definitely money-wise, being in Texas as well.
We need to stop this. They will not trade this person. Best league, they will not trade. After the Luka trade, can we just get rid of that sentence that this team will not, or whatever team will not trade this player? Because have we seen, Joe, that we've seen now a team trade a player that we thought was untouchable?
Yeah, it's more not. It's not. I've been trying to switch it up to it's not likely because the Luka trade defied every logical thing in your head.
Nothing is out of the realm at this point, in my estimation.
Yeah, if Michael Jordan can play for the Wizards, anything is possible too.
Yeah,
if Wayne Gretzky can be traded, anything is possible. If Luka can go to LA for AD, a stick of gum, and some bubble wrap, anything is possible. The Lakers and their involvement in this won't be found out until there are demands. There has to be a demand to come to LA.
Yeah, he would have to specifically ask to come to the Lakers because the Lakers just don't.
I don't know. I don't think that would happen because there's not enough for it to make sense asset wise for Milwaukee. Milwaukee has taken care of Giannis very well. I don't believe for a minute that he's not going to try to play it well with them. They did. They have tried everything they could. It just is not working out. So to force himself to the Lakers without them getting what they feel is fair compensation, I don't think it's going to be something that Giannis is going to allow, which means the Lakers would have to likely add a third, a fourth team to that so that they could put together some things.
Pale Fox, that would just be a lateral move that just makes you a little older. It doesn't make you any better because Giannis and Luka, I mean, you're talking about two of the top 5 players or 10 players in the league. You don't really get better. It's kind of like just a lateral move. It would be Giannis and LeBron instead of Luka and LeBron. I mean, you're still probably looking at the same direction unless you can build around that.
I wonder why there's a lot of talk of Houston getting KD.
Because they need offense. It showed in the playoffs. They need a consistent go-to scorer. Like you talked about with LeBron, what is LeBron not doing for this team? Not going and scoring in the clutch. KD for, the fact he is 37. All the detriments that you want to say about KD's game and whatnot, he is still a quality scorer in this league, Joe. I know that, again, I read your comment earlier today on the Golden State game that, Curry and LeBron could go, but Curry can still score in fourth quarters of games. I think KD could probably still do the same. And that's why it's at least enticing for Houston because that's what they need. They need someone they can utilize as a go-to scorer in those situations because they don't have that right now. Sengun, as much as Best League tries to compliment it, he is a rising player. I don't think he'll ever achieve that level of stardom. He is going to be a very good center in this league, but he's not going to be at at elite level. He'll be like an all-star, would you say? If he is already, but I don't think he'll ever be like at the Jokic top elite level where a whole team can just they can surround him and base it and use him as the foundation of the team and see if they can get themselves to the next level. They need a scorer in the clutch that they can count on to help Sengun reach whatever peak he can get.
Yeah, I don't know. I am baffled right now on how this is going to play out. I have no idea. And it's going to depend on what certain guys want. What's going to happen with Devin Booker? Is Devin Booker going to be an option? Because
Devin
what
Booker
is Phoenix
should
going to
be.
do? What is Phoenix going to do at this point? They have they are stuck for at least 2 more years now. Are they going to wait?
I mean, with them, Joe, they put themselves in a corner. They backed themselves in a corner with the lousy moves that they made. The KD trade obviously didn't work out the way they wanted to, and they compounded that with the Bradley Beal trade, which made it even worse. We talked about before the trades involving Jurkic, and the talent that they gave away to Portland in that deal, with Portland getting a decisive victory in that. They're a team that has less depth than the Lakers, less talent than the Lakers, yet they're more expensive than the Lakers. And the only trade, as far as their picks are concerned, they have a little bit more as first round picks. But guess what? They made a trade, Joe, if you remember, during the course of the year with Utah. They traded a much more desirable first round pick for 3 less desirable first round picks. And they jettisoned already, I think 1 or 2 of those picks already in the Jurkic trade that they, to get rid of Jurkic. So this is just an organization in disarray. You got an owner in Ishbia who, thought he knew what he was doing, and clearly it shows that he didn't. And I think that Booker, as much as he wants to be a Phoenix lifer, I think if you're a smart GM, you got to realize you got to keep all your options open, and trading him should be a definite possibility, because you're paying repeater tax. I believe they'll still be in the second tax apron, and they're still going to be nowhere near competing for a title.
Another thing to throw into this is the fact that you're going to have a lot of teams that are not going to want to get anywhere near the second apron. They're going to have to trade possible good talent to avoid it.
Cleveland.
It's going to be, I have a really good feeling, Gerald, that there's going to be some unprecedented things happening this summer.
Well, that's what I said before last week. I said, next summer, Joe, it's all about free agency, because the free agent market is good. And if everything if nobody made a move this year, next summer, there would be a substantial number of teams that have significant cap space in a year where there's a lot of free agents that's going to be available, good free agents. This year, it's all about trades, because I just said Brooklyn is the only team with substantial cap space. And they're a team that, even if you put Giannis on it, it's not going to be anywhere near a playoff team anytime soon, or as far a high-level playoff team. So, yeah, right now, this summer is going to be very active with trades, and that's going to be very interesting. For the very reason that you said, a lot of these teams either want to get talent or they want to stay away from that second tax apron.
I originally thought, okay, there's not going to be a lot of talent available in this summer, but which teams are going to be desperate to keep themselves away from the pseudo hard cap?
Well, we talked about, I mentioned Cleveland because they're going to go in the second tax apron, because they'll have, if they keep everybody, not even Ty Jerome, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent, but if they keep all their main core, they will go into the second tax apron. So is this a second tax apron team? You got to ask yourself. Yeah.
Well, there's always been discussion that Darius Garland would be available because there's redundancy a little bit with Donovan Mitchell. I don't necessarily believe that, but based off of economics, that might be a very, very, very big possibility that Darius Garland will likely be packaged to go elsewhere. that might be the guy.
Yeah.
Boy, with that.
Thank you, Best League. I appreciate that. Yeah, they're about 207 million. So that Bobby Marks, the Bobby Marks snapshots that he puts on Twitter, really, really super helpful. Give you an idea what's going to go on for their future if they keep it like that.
And then you're looking at Evan Mobley, who's going to jump from 11 million this year to 38 million next year.
Uh-huh.
What do you do with Jared Allen?
Actually,
Jared Allen's got a somewhat.
Well, their projected salary is 221 million. Joe, sorry about that.
Yeah. It's considerable. So, would it just be someone like Darius Garland? Would it be a package of Darius Garland and Jared Allen?
Well, Jared Allen's like 30 million. Is Jared Allen a $30 million
let's
center?
play fantasy basketball for a second here.
Yeah.
Let's look at it from the purple and gold glasses.
Of course.
Laker?
Okay, go ahead, Laker Tom.
What did we say? What did we say that the Lakers needed on this team? They needed a center, and they needed a perimeter guy that can get to the hole and shoot, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Imagine this. Imagine Jared Allen, Garland to LA for, it doesn't matter who they send over. Obviously, it's not going to be LeBron. It's not going to be Luka, right? Anyone in that package. Plus every swap you can think of, every first round pick they're allowed to give up, whatever. Whether they get it from somewhere else, whether they have it, whatever. How does that change the dynamic?
Quickness, speed. He does have the ability to score. Defensively, you're still struggling as far as on the perimeter. But again, Garland brings a lot of interesting dynamics, and him working off of Luka could be very interesting to see. And then, of course, Jared Allen as a lob threat. The thing is, I just ask you, is he a $30 million center? Because that's how much he's making for the next 2 seasons.
Probably not, but he's a legitimate starter, and
yes. double guy.
He would likely play better with Luka being a distributor and LeBron being a distributor. There would be that kind of a deal would be a deal that would change the dynamics of the 2026 season.
Now, Best is on your DeAndre Ayton thing, and I know that DeAndre Ayton would be almost as mercurial as the Zion Williamson, because when we did the Zion Williamson deal, everybody in the comments and actually after the show, comments are like, "You guys are crazy for even suggesting that. Crazy." The same thing is with DeAndre Ayton. Which DeAndre Ayton are you going to get today? That's the thing, and guys are going to say, okay, well, LeBron and Luke go straighten him out. Maybe, he didn't work out in Phoenix, and they were a finals team there, Joe. So I don't know. One day he was getting in Portland 25-10. The next day he was getting 5-5. So he's all over the place, Joe. And I don't think it's because of, it's just, I think he was the number one draft pick for a reason. And he has the talent to do this on an everyday basis. But I think you've said it before, it's above the head with him.
It is. And I actually think he's less of a risk, much less of a risk than Zion. At least DeAndre Ayton is in shape. He plays, and he's playing a position that the Lakers desperately need to enhance. The other advantage is he's going to be playing on an expiring contract next year.
So you should get the best of him.
So if he does suck, you're not tied to him for the next 2 to 4 years.
No.
The question I have for you is, does Portland want to move him?
Yeah, because they've got Klingon. They want to develop. That's right behind him. Plus, they got, I think, they have what is their draft pick this year? 6th, 7th, no, 11th. So they've got a decent draft pick this year. But yeah, Joe, they want to get. I think they do want to move him. They're also, remember, they're selling the team as well, so that could put some decision-making process into that as well, as far as getting rid of that kind of money on the books. Or it would probably have to be an Austin Reeves package. What does Austin Reeves give you? What would Austin Reeves, if you were offered to Portland, Joe, what would that give you as far as just that as a starter? Then you throw in Rui or whatever the other expiring contracts that you have to offer. What would entail Austin Reeves on talent alone bring back? What would that bring back for you? Because Ayton is the one that makes over $30 million right now.
I would say, if it's for DeAndre Ayton, I wouldn't want to risk and trade both Rui and Austin in that deal, one or the other, and then expiring contracts and then throw in a first-round pick. I'm not giving up.
Or you could do swaps. Remember, you got 5 swaps.
Somehow managed to do swaps and keep that first-round pick for something else that might be more pressing too. The Lakers would come out ahead. I don't want to lose both guys unless it absolutely is bringing back 2 guys that are that much better.
No way you're going to get Kamara or Advia. They played really well for Portland. I think that's going to be their forward tandem for a little while. They're going to run with, but let's say you do that. Let's put DeAndre Ayton at $34 million. I'm doing it right now in the NBA trade machine. So DeAndre Ayton's 34. If you put Austin Reeves, what would you put? You'd have to put, okay, you don't want to do Rui. So you would have to put Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber just to make the money work. You'd have to do a 3-for-1 just to make the money work under their current salaries. This is their current salaries, guys, not whatever next year's is going to be, just to let you know. So it'd be a 3-for-1.
I like that Cleveland deal better.
Yeah.
But
any of those $30 million centers, Joe, for the Lakers, you have to give up 3 players to do it, to reach anybody in that 30 million range.
Ayton doesn't defend, he'll make us worse. So, Pale, there's not much worse than they are right now. Ayton is not as bad as what we have now. He would be an improvement, even though he's not a defensive center. Lakers have really very little leverage in this scenario. You got to get whoever you do get is likely going to be an upgrade. Now, what we want is, we're crossing our fingers here. What we want, talent-wise, this summer is the ability to not make a lateral move, meaning we're moving all of our depth, like Austin and Rui, and getting players that are essentially going to cover their deficiencies, but then eliminate the positives of Rui and Austin.
Best league, I wouldn't give up 5 swaps for Ayton. I'd do maybe 2 max.
No, you don't do that many swaps for an Ayton. You do that for Jared Allen and Darius Garland, because that's your future, and you have legitimate studs in 2 positions that you do need. Because those swaps won't mean much if you have a healthy Luka and playing an MVP level. You have Darius Garland, who still has a chance to get better, and then you have Jared Allen, who is an integral part of the front court that you desperately need. And then imagine Dalton Connect getting an understanding of how to play NBA basketball more, and slightly getting better on defense, and then his shot is more consistent, which I feel he will be.
I think they're going to go young, Joe. I think they're going. Looking at it now, I think your backcourt for them, whatever draft pick they get, is going to be Scoot Henderson and Sharp. Their forwards are going to be Advia and Kamara, and Klingon's going to be their center, which means guys like Grant, Simons, and Aiton, maybe even Williams, Robert Williams III, will all be on the trade block, my friend. I think all those guys
will Portland trade with the Lakers? Do you believe they will trade with the Lakers?
Oh yeah, I think they will.
Okay. There's some options here. I'm gonna see. I'm not gonna be upset if they go after Aiton. I'm not. If they can get him for a decent haul, you solve the center position there. At the very, you have a bona fide starting center who can drop 17 and 10.
I mean, what would you hope you could pawn off Perui instead of Austin?
Yeah, because Austin very well could end up going to the bench if you get another guard.
He won't be thrilled with that in a contract year. I know, tough for him, but even though we think it's the best thing for him or for the team, you know he's not going to be thrilled with doing that in a contract year. Let me go. Let me Rui Hashimura.
I don't think we're the only people that have seen him perform in the playoffs the last.
Oh no, and he's already got a rep. I understand that. I'm just saying that sometimes you got to speak as what you would think he's trying to plan out his future, because next summer he wants to cash in on whatever he can. Is there an issue with him in the playoffs? Absolutely. But he's also a 20-point scorer in this league, and those aren't always the easiest things to come by. But if you put Rui, that gives you an extra $5 million. You could maybe add in like a Chris Murray or something like that as filler that they have there. Maybe one or two players as fillers back into the roster in Portland. You never know. But yeah, you can make it work, but it just takes multiple players. But those multiple players could also be Maxi Kleber. If those multiple players are Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent, that's not really hurting you very much, unless you're a really super big Gabe Vincent fan. And I don't know who out there in our audience is.
So the MLE is 12.8, and is it going to go up this summer? You think
it will? But remember, the Lakers, I think, only have as high as 5.6.
5.6 because they're in the first apron, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you can get a KPJ for that, that doubles his salary from what he's making in Milwaukee. That's a win too. Those little acquisitions may play a huge part if you garner the right guys in these trades. There's three things that I would say you need to have this summer to go into next year going, ooh, this is going to be interesting. Number one, make sure LeBron isn't extended beyond 2026. The other is being able to acquire a legitimate starter, whether it's the center or whether it's a good perimeter player, by not giving up both Rui and Austin, just one or the other. And then the other will be signing someone with the available exceptions, available money that you can spend, that becomes an integral role player on this team.
Question for you, though. Quentin Grimes on Philadelphia has been talked about in our chat. I don't know how much you make of guys that are, due to injury and a tanking team, get an abundance of minutes and opportunity. He did have a few 30 and 40-point games near at the end of the season before he was finally also, rested up or sat out or whatever they did to him, so they could continue to tank. How much stock do you put into that? We've seen players before at the end of seasons, get like a bulk of playing time, and sometimes nothing comes out of it. Sometimes it's used as development for their future. Quentin Grimes will be, I believe, a free agent, and if that's the case, would you be interested with him with a 5.6?
That's another one that Dallas screwed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can you? I don't think there's a chance in hell that they'd be able to get him. He was just under 22 points this year, wasn't he?
No, that's only the time when he was playing. Because remember, he was a bench player for most of
Mm-hmm.
the year in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So only when he was traded to
Well,
Philadelphia.
he played 30 games or so for Philly and
Yeah.
was dropping 20-point games
Yes.
all over the place, right?
Yes. But he behind Kelly Oubre Jr., Tyrese Maxey, Jared McClain. Remember Jared McCain, who remember got injured, but will be back healthy at the start of next season. He's a restricted free agent this summer. FYI,
It's a great name that you picked, Gerald. Absolutely great, and that's exactly what the Lakers would need. I just don't think they're going to be able to afford him.
Again, I just throwing that out there. I just wanted to see because
No. That is exactly what they need. This guy's 24, I think.
Yeah,
right. He's
still
24. Young. It would be perfect. I think he's going to get a good deal somewhere.
I think it's probably get based off that he'll probably get around 10 or he'll probably get the deal like Austin has now. I mean, because it is a restricted free agency. A lot of teams the teams that can bid or bid up to, what did we say the MLE was 12-ish, 13-ish?
12.
Yeah,
13.
so I think he might be able to draw out an MLE from somebody. That would put the Lakers out of that position to do
those are the little deals that you can make at the right moment that would change so much. That's exactly what the Lakers need. They need a young player who's coming into his own right now, and his game is only going to grow larger because he's got distributors all over the place, and the Lakers need that talent.
And we can finally stop hearing about Max Christie, Joe.
People still going crazy about a 9-point a game scorer who shoots 44% from the field.
Exactly. Who couldn't even stay in the starting lineup after Kyrie got injured.
It's impossible sometimes to ingrain things, common sense to others. I'm sure all the teams do it, all the fan bases do it, but I'm going to just stick to the Laker fans because I'm a Laker fan. Laker fans overvalue, and it's not always their fault because they're impressionable, but it's still sort of their fault because they allow themselves to be impressionable. This is what happens when you listen to mainstream sports media, guys that don't watch the game. They see a couple plays, and all of a sudden now this guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're not watching the games like we are.
You know what it reminds me of? When all the Lakers fans fell in love with THT, and so many of them were ready to get rid of Caruso in that battle between you gotta keep THT. He's only 21. Gotta keep THT.
Yeah, prisoners of the moment. They see something going on that's great for a minute. Oh, we got to keep them. It happens in baseball all the time, right? Chris Taylor, after the 2021 season, he had a game-winning walk-off against St. Louis in that first wild card game. Had a great season. Every freaking 5 minutes, everyone's like, you got to sign Chris Taylor. You got to sign Chris Taylor. You got to sign Chris Taylor. They signed Chris Taylor to a 3-year deal. Actually, it was a 4-year deal. And now people want to crucify him. And they've been wanting that for 2 years now. Be careful. Be careful of how you analyze players, guys. If you watch enough, you'll be able to understand what works. And this whole Luka doesn't play defense stuff is straight out of the media. It's verbatim the way they say it because I hear it all the time. Scrolling through social media when I'm trying to work, that shit pops up on my feed. Sometimes I'll listen to a little snippet of a video or whatever, right?
I just wanted to say, Pale. The thing is, even though the Lakers are picking 55, if you take a look at the draft boards for the second round, the Lakers going into that second round may have as many. There may be as many as 6 or 7 big men to choose from in the second round. Now, maybe you'll have to move up to go ahead and get someone like you said, a Zakarsky, Hanson Yang has also been talked about, but there are a lot of notable names that are 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, with some size, with some beefs. Some of them specialize in rebounding, so that's something you want to keep in mind. Zakarsky, I mean, our Australian guys are not high. They're not very high. SB will tell you, and I think also Mark will tell you as well. They're not really high on Zakarsky. He was a lottery pick this time last year, and has dropped into the second round. Now, if he has good workouts, he can rise back up again. We'll have to wait and see. But Joe, at least, the Lakers may have an opportunity, and hopefully I can just get a little bit of that with our good friend Stone Hansen later today on the fast break. He didn't tell me what time yet, by the way, but there could be some options with some size and beef and available rebounding prowess if it falls right for the Lakers.
Well, the Lakers are going to have to, if they want to have one last hurrah with LeBron and have a chance at winning a championship, they're going to have to do really well this summer. But I'm also looking at beyond next year too. Can you bring on a couple guys that are going to continue with Luka this summer? At least one. That's going to be the question. And I'll try to make it for the show tomorrow with you and Stone, by the way. I have a pretty free Thursday. It's Friday that I'm booked. I'm booked all over Friday, so I won't be available Friday probably for anything. But Thursday should be a pretty clear day, even in the afternoon. And, yeah.
Guys, keep your eyes on the draft combine going on in Chicago, and who might be looking good as a possible second round hopeful for the Lakers.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that tomorrow with Stone and what possibilities that may be available for them in the second round. That's what we have. That's why we like to talk to Stone. He covers an aspect of this game that is virtually impossible for me to follow. I cannot follow high school players. I cannot follow college players as much as I wish I could. I would have no time. I don't have time to watch hockey like I used to back in the day. I don't watch college football as much as I wish I could. The 3 sports that I follow when I end up passing away, hopefully in the next 30, 40 years, crossing my fingers on that, I bet if I calculated all the time I've spent watching sports, it might take up half my life.
I hear you. Same thing.
You know what I mean? The other third would be sleeping. So essentially, I've spent half my life doing something on a tube. And then now with the shows that we do, I'm adding even more to it. And the only way I can do it all is by not having to do anything. I don't play the lottery, so I'm never going to win the lottery. I have to hit on investments that I have and retire early, but that's not something I want to do either. I actually do like working.
I'm going to put this link in the chat. This is the link for the roster lineups tomorrow for the 5-on-5 scrimmages, for later today. So if you want to take a look at that, as far as for any players that you're particularly looking at, it'll tell you which team they're on, so you can hopefully get a chance to see them.
No, we'll get on. We'll get in on that again. My plan is to hang out with you guys tomorrow afternoon, at least for right now, and we'll see if there's a Zubac possibility in the second round. Maybe there's a good backup center at the very least that could be available.
I wish they could move up. Which they
Yeah.
would,
If
which they have the ability to move up.
yeah, I don't know if that's ever gonna. I don't know if that's a possibility, but we'll be watching. We'll be paying attention, and obviously we'll be having shows and we'll be commentating. I know I'll be doing I'll try to. We'll be doing the draft. Possibly when it's available, and we'll be on here as well to talk about it afterwards. But I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but this is what happens. Sometimes we kind of start gathering the crew. We start gathering the people to start watching and plotting and asking, and it starts to grow there. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. We talked a little bit about Pete Rose and his new eligibility status. I still don't think he's going to be voted in based off of what I've found out in the last few days. People are blaming the writers. It's actually former players that have played a bigger part from what I've found out in this situation. The Dodgers medical staff and the Dodgers kind of babying of this team, my instincts want to complain, but being that they're the champs, being that we have to probably wait this out to see what the results will be. That's the case. That's the life we have to live at this point. And then we went full bore on the Lakers here. I actually wasn't planning on talking Lakers tonight as much as we did. Glad we did, though, because we did talk about some topics that could be very interesting once the season's over. And I want the season to end, by the way. I totally over this season. The Minnesota-Oklahoma City series, Oklahoma City possible series if Denver loses tomorrow, is to me not very exciting. Pacers and Knicks, should the Knicks beat Boston, would be a little bit more exciting. But then if Indiana faces Oklahoma City or Minnesota, I mean, I don't see any excitement there either. So with that, we'll talk more about that as this playoff run goes. We'll be watching the Dodgers again tomorrow on the playback run by Vari on the Joe Sora Experiment channel. Any questions, any comments, anything, guys, go ahead and ask them when the show gets off air. You can go on YouTube and ask any questions. You can go on my X. You can see there at Joe Soro OX if you want to send me something direct or post something on my wall there on X. Until tomorrow, until next week, until our next show, I want to thank you all again for being here. And until next time, we'll see you next time.